The night was quiet in the small earth town of Pine Ridge. The streets were empty, the air still. Most people were asleep, their homes dark and peaceful. But high above, something watched from the sky. A massive black ship hovered silently, hidden. From human eyes, Jack Carter sat alone in his backyard, looking up at the stars. He was a tall man in his 30s, strong and calm. Years ago, he was a Terran Special Forces soldier. Now, he just wanted peace. Life had been hard, and he hoped Earth would stay quiet. But something inside him always stayed alert. Like a part of him never stopped being a soldier. He drank his coffee slowly, listening to the wind. Then, without warning, the stars above him blinked out. The world went dark. No sound, no feeling, just black. When Jack opened his eyes, he was lying on a cold metal floor. Everything around him was strange. The walls glowed with soft blue light. The air smelled like burnt metal. He sat up fast, muscles tense, eyes sharp. This wasn't Earth, and this wasn't a dream. He touched the ground. It was smooth, hard, and cold. The room had no windows, just one metal door with a small screen above it. Strange symbols flickered across it. He stood up slowly, scanning everything. He wasn't alone. Across from him were more people, or at least creatures. In other cells he saw other beings. Some were short, with many eyes. Others looked like walking plants or insects. Some were injured, some asleep, some awake, but too scared to speak. Then he saw them tall creatures with gray skin, glowing red eyes, and long armor. They walked past the cells like guards holding strange weapons. Their movements were calm, proud, and cruel. One of them stopped in front of Jack's cell. It looked at him with a smirk that was even a face. It pressed something on a small device, and a voice came from the walls, translated perfectly into English. "This one is from Earth," it said. "Weak planet. Weak minds. Easy capture." Jack didn't move. He just stared back, expression flat. Sighed, his mind was racing. The alien laughed and walked on. Jack sat back against the wall. His training kicked in. Stay calm. Watch everything. Look for patterns. Look for mistakes. They thought he was just another scared creature. Had no idea what he really was. Ours past may be more. Time was hard to tell in space. Food came through a small slot gray. Paste with no taste. He ate it without complaint. He needed energy. From the cell next to him, a soft voice spoke. "You are from Earth?" the voice asked. Jack turned. It was an insect-like creature with large eyes and soft clicking sounds in its speech. "Yeah," Jack said. "And you?" "I'm called Kiru. I am from Veltari 6. I am engineer. We were taken months ago." "Who took you?" Jack asked. Though he already had a guess, the Zarnak, Kiru said. "They take small groups from many worlds, sell some, use some for. Testing some for games?" Jack frowned. Games. Another prisoner, large, slow-moving, with 4 arms, grunted. "Human, you strong?" Jack looked at the creature. It was massive, at least 9 feet tall, covered in thick fur. "I can be," Jack said. "They watch us, all the time," the large one said. "But they make mistakes. Soon, you will see." Jack nodded slowly. He was already watching. He noticed how the guards walked the same path every few minutes. Saw which ones seemed lazy, which ones liked to hurt the prisoners. One guard in particular, the tall one who first mocked him, seemed overconfident that night. As he lay down, pretending to sleep, he noticed something else. The small panel on the wall near his food slot was loose, barely but loose. He pressed his finger against it gently. It moved. Not much, but enough. He smiled. Over the next hours, while everyone rested or stayed quiet, Jack worked. Carefully. Slowly. He used a sharp piece of metal from the tray to pry open the panel. Inside, wires and circuits blinked. He didn't touch. Anything yet? Just watched. Memorized. The next time the guard came by, Jack stood near the back wall, hands behind his back. The alien smirked again. "Primitive," the Zarnak said. "You will be sold to the arena. Let's see how long you last." Jack said Macbin, just stared back. The Zarnak raised his weapon and slammed it against the cell bars, making a loud bang. Most prisoners flinched. Jack didn't move. The guard frowned and walked away. Jack returned to his wall. He had seen it when the Zarnak slammed the weapon. A small spark jumped from a wire inside the bars. That meant power. That meant circuits. That meant a weak point. Kiru spoke again. "You were planning escape?" Jack didn't answer. The big four-armed alien laughed softly. "Good. About time." Jack turned toward them. "We'll need help when the time comes." "We help," Kiru said. "You lead. We follow." Jack gave a single nod. In the next feeding cycle, Jack kept his eyes open. One of the guards dropped something by accident, a small metal tool. It slid near Jack's cell. He reached through the bars, stretched his arm as far as it could go, and grabbed it. Barely. It was small, maybe a maintenance key or some kind of screwdriver, but it was enough. He hid it under his tray. Time passed. Every day the guards came and went. Every day Jack memorized their patterns. He learned when the lights dimmed, when they changed shifts, when they got lazy. Then it happened, late at night. During the lowest guard time, Jack opened the small panel fully. Using the tool, he poked at the wires, cutting power to the door sensor. The bars stayed solid, but now he could work on the lock. He waited. Next time the food came, he kept the tray, used a piece of the metal to shape a thin strip-like lockpick. He tested it on the door. Gently, quietly, it clicked. Not open, but close. He smiled again. The next day the guard came back, the same one who mocked him. This time the Zarnak spoke with others. "We send this one first," it said. "Arena world needs blood. Let them see how fast this Earth thing dies." They laughed and walked away. Jack sat down, calm, focused. That night, he finished it. He slid the pick into the lock, moved it carefully, listening to the tiny clicks. He felt the tension. 1 click. 2. Then the door opened with a soft hiss. Jack stood up slowly, quietly. He looked left, looked right. No guards. He turned to Kairu's cell. Next, Kairu looked shocked. "Already?" Jack nodded. "Time's up." As Jack moved toward the panel of Kairu's cell, alarms began to flash somewhere deep in the ship. Someone had triggered something, maybe another prisoner, maybe a test. Red lights pulsed. Time was short now. Jack worked fast, opening Kairu's door, then the big four-armed alien, then a few others. Each one ready. Each one quiet. "We go now," Jack whispered. "Stay close. Move fast. Kill only if we must." He took the guard's drop tool and sharpened it into a blade. A small weapon, but in Jack's hands. It was deadly. They moved through the hallway, sticking to shadows. Up ahead, the door opened, and a Zarnak guard stepped out. Jack didn't wait. He charged. The guard turned, surprised but too slow. Jack slammed into him, knocking him down. 1 strike to the throat, 1 to the head. The Zarnak didn't move again. Jack took the guard's weapon, studied it. Strange tech, but the trigger was clear. He nodded. He was armed now. They moved deeper into the ship. Behind them, alarms got louder. Jack looked back once. He knew this was just the beginning. They picked the wrong human, and now the galaxy was about to learn what a Terran could do. Jack moved fast, leading the small group of escaped prisoners through narrow metallic halls. The stolen Zarnak weapon felt heavy but balanced in his grip. His years of training guided his every step. Calm, silent, focused. Behind him, Kiru followed, nervously. The insectoid engineer looked around, clicking softly in fear. The four-armed giant, named Brock, stayed close to. His heavy steps were quiet, but his breathing was loud, deep. Like a large animal ready to fight, they passed through a service tunnel. Pipes hissed with steam. Lights above flickered red as alarms continued to blare through the ship. Somewhere, far away, Jack could hear the heavy stomps of armored Zarnak guards searching for them, but they were always one step ahead. Left here, Kiru said, pointing a clawed finger. Storage bay? No guards usually. Jack nodded. Goodwill. Check for gear or tools. Inside the storage bay, they found rows of crates stacked high. The room was dim, quiet, and cold. Jack quickly opened a crate with the guard's access badge. Inside were strange weapons, armor pieces, and small devices. He scanned them. None of this is human-made, he said, but some of it might help. Found a thick metal rod and swung it like a club. It made a deep whooshing sound. Good enough, he said with a grin. KR, you picked up a tool belt. I know this tech. I can use this. Out. They each armed themselves. Jack grabbed a small rectangular device that looked like a scanner. It buzzed when pointed at doors or walls. He smiled. Nice. This might be a map. Suddenly the ship shook. A loud boom echoed through the bay. The floor vibrated. Jack's eyes narrowed. What was that? Kiru clicked in alarm. Weapon. Test room. They are powering up defense systems. It's preparing for full lockdown. Then we move faster, Jack said. He turned on the scanner. A basic map appeared. One blinked brightly. It was their current location. Another dot pulsed. Red. That's the control room, Jack guessed. We go there. The group followed him through twisting corridors. Jack stayed alert, watching every corner. He knew how patrols worked, how guards moved. He saw every camera, every alarm sensor. He was trained for this. They reached a narrow hallway lined with strange tubes. Inside some of them were other prisoners unconscious, floating in liquid. Some were small, others massive, all helpless. Kiru stopped. This is where they store bodies. Some are sold, some used for research. Zarnak are cruel. Jack's jaw tightened, stared at the tubes. I'll remember this. As they passed the last tube, they heard voices deep, growling, coming closer. Jack raised his hand. Everyone froze. Around the corner came to Zarnak guards. Jack didn't wait. He moved fast, silent. He struck the first in the throat with the blunt end of the stolen rifle. The second raised his weapon, but Brock charged, roaring, and slammed him. Into the wall, both Zarnak fell. Jack took their weapons and tossed one to Kiru. Can you use this? Kiru looked nervous but nodded. Point and shoot. I will learn. They kept moving. The control room was near. The scanner buzzed more, the closer they got. But as they turned another corner, they stopped cold. A robot stood there, tall, silver. And armed, its head turned sharply toward them. Its eyes glowed bright blue. It scanned the group. Unauthorized presence detected, the robot said. Its voice was flat and cold. Then it raised its weapon. Jack shouted, Run, scatter! Group jumped aside as a blue beam fired from the robot's arm. It burned a line into the wall where Jack had just stood. Jack rolled behind a crate and returned fire. The alien weapon buzzed and fired a red bolt. It struck the robot's chest, but barely scratched it. Too strong, Kiru shouted. An elite guard unit. Jack gritted his teeth. Then we take it apart piece by piece. He dashed forward, zigzagging to avoid another beam. He jumped on the robot's back, jamming the stolen rifle into its neck joint. Sparks flew, but the robot didn't fall. It threw Jack off. Hard, he hit the wall, groaned, then rolled to his feet. Brock charged next, slamming his club into the robot's leg. Metal bent under the blow, and the robot staggered. Jack saw his chance. Ran leaped again, and this time shoved a stolen grenade into the robot's open neck panel. He kicked off the robot's head and landed on the ground just as boom. The robot exploded in a shower of sparks and smoke. Its pieces fell to the floor, burning. Brock roared in victory. Kiru let out a long breath. Jack stood up slowly. Hope that was the only one. Kiru checked the scanner. Control room, just one more level above us. Jack looked at the stairs. Let's finish this. As they climbed, Jack thought back to what the Zarnak had said. Arena. Blood games. Selling people like products. Torture for fun. He wasn't going to just escape. He was going to end this. At the top of the stairs, the door to the control room stood sealed. A red light blinked. Kiru stepped forward. Give me 30 seconds. He opened a panel and began tapping into the controls with a stolen tool belt. Sparks flew. The light turned green. The door slid open. Inside was a large room with dozens of screens, blinking lights, and a central chair. An alien officer sat there as Zarnak, but smaller, older, with long gray arms. It turned in shock as Jack entered. How did you? Jack shot first. The alien collapsed. He moved to the controls. Kiru joined him. I can lock the lower levels. Stop reinforcements from reaching us for a while, Kiru said. Do it, Jack ordered. Brock stood at the door guarding. Kiru typed quickly, wires sparking. Locked. Cameras shut down. Communications jammed. Jack leaned over the console and saw what he needed: ship maps. Prisoner lists, guard rotations, Zarnak ship, fleet locations. He grinned. We can take the whole ship, he said. Kiru blinked. What? Jack stood up. We don't just run. We fight. We take the armory, free more prisoners, and turn this place into a war zone. One ship at a time. Brock growled with approval. Yes. Fight. Jack picked up the Zarnak communicator from the officer's body and activated it. This is Jack Carter, human. Terran. To the Zarnak listening, he paused, voice cold. You picked the wrong human. Then he crushed the device under his boot. Red lights still flashed as Jack and his group stood in the control room. Smoke hung in the air, and the smell of burned wires mixed with blood and metal. On the screens, the entire ship layout was visible. It was huge, multiple decks, hundreds of rooms, prisoner chambers, laboratories, weapon storage areas, even an arena. Jack looked at it all. They built this ship for fear, he said, to scare and break people. Kiru buzzed quietly. Yes, they show strength, but they don't expect resistance. Jack's eyes narrowed. They'll expect it now. Brock stood by the door, weapon in one of his 4 hands. He grunted. We go to the armory now, Jack nodded. Armory first. Then we find the main prison hall. We free everyone who can move and fight. Kiru pointed at a screen. This path is fastest, but also close to guard center. Risky, and Jack leaned in. We move quiet. We take them before they see us. The group exited the control room, taking the dark halls through the upper level. Kiru carried a small Zarnak tech tablet, showing them the layout in real time. The ship buzzed with energy, confused and unstable after Jack's strike on the control room, but the Zarnak were regrouping. Voices echoed in the halls. Jack raised his hand, motioned for silence. 3 guards passed just ahead, heavily armored but distracted, talking in their own guttural language. Jack watched them carefully as soon as they turned the corner. Jack sprinted after them, silent fast. He struck first. One guard never saw the blow coming. Jack's stolen blade slid under its armor plate, right into the throat. The second turned to late Brock, grabbed him and slammed him into the wall so hard his bones cracked. The third raised his weapon, but Kiru fired, first shaking eyes wide. The alien fell with a thud. You looked down at the weapon in his claws. I didn't know I could do that. Jack clapped his shoulder. You did good. Keep moving. They reached the armory. A large metal door blocked the way, thicker than any so far? 2 security bots stood still beside it, powered down. KIR. You worked fast. Give me 1 minute. This lock is complex. Jack covered him, watching the corridor behind. Brock leaned against the wall, breathing hard. His shoulder was bleeding. You okay? Jack asked. Brock nodded. I've had worse. Kiru suddenly. Cursed. They've changed the code. Jack looked at the bots. Can you wake them up? Kiru's eyes widened. That's dangerous. They might attack. Then we'll reprogram them after they wake. Kiru hesitated, then nodded and tapped a sequence. The bots hummed to life. Their eyes glowed red. They scanned the group. Jack stepped forward. "Listen," he said. "You're not under Zarnok command anymore." The bots aimed their weapons. Jack moved fast, grabbed a control cord hanging from the wall, and yanked it out. Sparks flew. He jammed it into the bot's side port. The machine jerked. Kiru jumped in and linked his tablet. "I'm in. I can change command. Now give me 10 seconds. The bots froze. glitching. 9 seconds. 8. One bot raised its weapon. 5.kiru. Shouted now. The bot's eyes turned blue. "Command accepted," one said. "Awaiting Terran orders." Jack let out a breath. He grinned. "Open the armory." The bot stepped aside. The door unlocked with a deep hiss. Inside was a treasure. Room of death rows of alien rifles, grenades, armor, and energy shields. Jack walked inside slowly. "This is more than enough." He tossed Brock a new armored chest plate, gave Kiru a cleaner weapon, took one for himself. Sleek Zarnok battle rifle with dual settings, stun and kill. They loaded up. Jack also grabbed a belt full of small explosive orbs. "Time to even the odds," he said. Kiru looked nervous. "What if they call reinforcements from another ship, and we take this one before they arrive?" They exited the armory and alarms changed tone. A deep, growling voice echoed through the entire ship. "This is Commander Vraz of the Zarnok fleet. The human and traitors have taken the armory. This is unacceptable." The others froze. The voice continued. "You have made your last mistake, Terran. You will die here." Jack stared up at the ceiling. "Toward the speaker system. We'll see." Suddenly, heavy stomps echoed. New enemies or knack elites in power armor came from both sides of the hall. Jack shouted, "Cover left side." "Fall." "Back into the armory?" Lasers lit the hallway. Brock swung his new axe, cleaving one elite in half. Kiru used the stun rifle, hitting weak points in their armor. Jack fired short bursts, targeting joints and eyes. But there were too many. One elite tackled Jack into the wall. The air left his lungs. The alien raised a plasma blade. Jack headbutted it hard, then shoved a grenade into its armor gap and dove aside. Boom. The hallway shook. Smoke filled the air. Jack crawled back to the armory, bleeding from his arm. Kiru pulled him inside. "We can't hold this spot long." Jack nodded. "Then we take the arena next." Kiru looked confused. "Why the arena?" Jack stood up, chest rising and falling. "Because it's the heart of their pride. They put prisoners there to die. We're going to flip the script." He pulled up the map again. "We take the arena. We broadcast the fight to every Zarnok screen on the ship. Let them see who's really in control now." Brock smiled with blood on his teeth. "Let's give them a show." Jack activated the stolen communicator. "To all prisoners, if you can hear this, rise, fight, meet at the arena. This is our moment." A pause. Then voices replied, shaky but strong. "We're with you, Terran. We rise. Let's show them what happens when you pick the wrong human."
The hall outside the armory was quiet now. Smoke floated in the air like a warning. Jack stood tall, rifle ready, blood dripping from a cut on his cheek. Brock tightened his grip on the heavy axe. Kiru checked the stolen map device again. Claws, shaking. "All routes to the arena are blocked," Kiru said. "Guards everywhere." Jack looked at the map. "Then we make a new path." He tapped the side of the device, switching to a maintenance layout. "There's a vent shaft system here." He pointed. "Runs under the floor. It leads straight to the arena's service deck." Brock grunted. "Small, tight, not built for fighters." Jack nodded. "But it gets us behind their defenses." Kiru blinked. "That's crazy. Most good ideas are," Jack said. They moved quickly, prying open a floor hatch and dropping into the vents. It was narrow and hot. Jack crawled first, weapon strapped to his back, eyes forward. He could hear the deep hum of the arena growing louder above them. The sounds of battle, echoed shouts, explosions, metal slamming into metal. Other prisoners had heard the call. They were rising. After 20 minutes of crawling, they reached a grate. Jack looked through. He saw the arena's underground prep area where slaves were armed and forced into combat. Dozens of Zarnok soldiers stood ready, guarding cages full of prisoners, some broken, others still strong. Now, Jack whispered. We hit them hard and fast. Brock kicked the grate open. Jack jumped through first, shooting 2 guards before they could turn. Brock dropped behind him with a roar, swinging the axe into another soldier. Kiru fired from the vent, hitting a guard in the leg, then the head. Chaos erupted. Prisoners in cages watched in shock as the guards fell. Jack ran to the console and smashed the controls. Doors opened, cages unlocked. Get up, Jack shouted. Arm yourselves. One prisoner, a tall reptilian female, grabbed a fallen rifle. We thought you were a rumor. I'm real, Jack said, and we're taking the arena. More prisoners joined in. The room filled with noise metal clashing. Shouts of revenge. Feet running. Kiru activated a control panel. The lift to the arena floor began to rise. Jack stood in the center with Brock, Kiru, and 6 other freed fighters as the platform lifted. The lights above grew brighter. The roar of a crowd echoed louder. Zarnok elites, officers, even commanders watching from the stands, expecting another blood sport. But this time it wasn't a normal match. The lift stopped. The arena floor was massive, circular with high walls. In the center stood a massive beast, chained and growling. 4 guards stood around it. The crowd above was confused. Some shouted in anger. Others laughed, not understanding. Jack stepped forward. He raised his weapon and shot the chains off the beast. The creature turned toward him, snarling. Brock stepped beside Jack. You freed it. Jack smiled. I wanted to choose who the real enemy is. The beast looked around, then it turned and attacked the Zarnok guards. The crowd screamed. Kiru activated the main control panel near the wall. Lights blinked. Screens came on all around the arena. Zarnok officers looked down, shouting orders. Jack stepped to the center and faced the nearest camera. My name is Jack Carter, Terran human. His voice echoed through the ship. You brought me here to die, to entertain. You tortured prisoners. You built your empire on fear. He paused. The crowd watched in silence. But you made one mistake. He raised the rifle. You picked the wrong human. Then all hell broke loose. The crowd erupted. Some tried to run, others called for reinforcements, but across the ship reserve were already fighting back using stolen weapons. Overwhelming small squads. The arena gates exploded as more prisoners arrived, carrying captured weapons. A full riot had begun. Zarnok troops rushed in from the far end of the arena. A large battle started, lasers firing, smoke rising, screams echoing. Jack and his group fought hard. Brock took out 5 soldiers on his own. Kiru disabled 2 mechs, using hacked codes. The beast Jack had freed tore into the guards, roaring with rage, but then an explosion. Part of the arena wall broke open. A new figure entered, tall, armored, cold. Commander Vraz. He was Zarnak elite, bigger than the others. Dressed in red-black battle armor, carrying a heavy energy blade, he walked slowly across the burning arena, ignoring the chaos. His eyes locked on Jack. You speak like a leader, Vraz said, but you are still a weak animal. Jack stepped forward, blood on his face, dust on his armor. Then fight me and find out. Brock tried to step beside him, but Jack raised a hand. No, I need to do this myself. Vraz moved fast, surprisingly fast for his size. He swung the blade, and Jack barely dodged. The heat of the weapon burned his arm. Jack countered with a knife, aiming for the joint in the armor. Missed. Vraz grabbed him and threw him across the floor. Jack crashed into a broken column. Pain shot through his back, but he stood, bleeding, coughing but alive. He remembered his training, his time as a soldier. He remembered Earth, home, the blue sky. He rushed forward, dodged the next blade. Swing slid under the alien's legs and stabbed. A grenade under the armor plate at Vraz's spine. Vraz turned. Jack dove back. Boom. The grenade exploded, ripping through the back of the commander's armor. Vraz staggered, fell to one knee. Jack walked up slowly. He raised his rifle. You lost. And he pulled the trigger. Vraz's body fell still. The crowd gasped. Then silence, for one long moment. The arena froze. Then the prisoners cheered. All around the ship, word spread. The commander was dead. The human had killed him. Zarnok soldiers panicked. Some tried to flee. Others surrendered. Kiru turned to Jack. They're breaking. Their command is collapsing. Brock raised his axe high. We take the bridge. We take the ship. Jack looked up at the skydome above the arena, shining beyond the glass. Not just this ship, he said. All of them. The hall outside the armory was quiet now. Smoke floated in the air like a warning. Jack stood tall, rifle ready, blood dripping from a cut on his cheek. Brock tightened his grip on the heavy axe. Kiru checked the stolen map device again. Claws, shaking. All routes to the arena are blocked, Kiru said. Guards everywhere. Jack looked at the map. Then we make a new path. He tapped the side of the device, switching to a maintenance layout. There's a vent shaft system here, he pointed. Runs under the floor. It leads straight to the arena's service deck. Brock grunted. Small, tight, not built for fighters. Jack nodded. But it gets us behind their defenses. Kiru blinked. That's crazy. Most good ideas are, Jack said. They moved quickly, prying open a floor hatch and dropping into the vents. It was narrow and hot. Jack crawled first, weapon strapped to his back, eyes forward. He could hear the deep hum of the arena growing louder above them. The sounds of battle echoed, shouts, explosions, metal slamming into metal. Other prisoners had heard the call. They were rising. After 20 minutes of crawling, they reached a grate. Jack looked through. He saw the arena's underground prep area where slaves were armed and forced into combat. Dozens of Zarnok soldiers stood ready, guarding cages full of prisoners, some broken, others still strong. Now, Jack whispered, we hit them hard and fast. Brock kicked the grate open. Jack jumped through first, shooting 2 guards before they could turn. Brock dropped behind him with a roar, swinging the axe into another soldier. Kiru fired from the vent, hitting a guard in the leg, then the head. Chaos erupted. Prisoners in cages watched in shock as the guards fell. Jack ran to the console and smashed the controls. Doors opened, cages unlocked. Get up, Jack shouted. Arm yourselves. One prisoner, a tall reptilian female, grabbed a fallen rifle. We thought you were a rumor. I'm real, Jack said, and we're taking the arena. More prisoners joined in. The room filled with noise, metal clashing, shouts of revenge, feet running. Kiru activated a control panel. The lift to the arena floor began to rise. Jack stood in the center with Brock, Kiru, and 6 other freed fighters. As the platform lifted, the lights above grew brighter. The roar of a crowd echoed louder. Zarnak elites, officers, even commanders watching from the stands, expecting another blood sport, but this time it wasn't a normal match. The lift stopped. The arena floor was massive, circular with high walls. In the center stood a massive beast, chained and growling. 4 guards stood around it. The crowd above was confused. Some shouted in anger, others laughed, not understanding. Jack stepped forward. He raised his weapon and shot the chains off the beast. The creature turned toward him, snarling. Brock stepped beside Jack. You freed it, Jack smiled. I wanted to choose who the real enemy is. The beast looked around, then it turned and attacked the Zarnak guards. The crowd screamed. Kiru activated the main control panel near the wall. Lights blinked. Screens came on all around the arena. Zarnak officers looked down, shouting orders. Jack stepped to the center and faced the nearest camera. My name is Jack Carter, Terran human. His voice echoed through the ship. You brought me here to die, to entertain. You tortured prisoners. You built your empire on fear. He paused. The crowd watched in silence. But you made one mistake. He raised the rifle. You picked the wrong human. Then all hell broke loose. The crowd erupted. Some tried to run. Others called for reinforcements. But across the ship, prisoners were already fighting back using stolen weapons. Overwhelming small squads. The arena gates exploded as more prisoners arrived, carrying captured weapons. A full riot had begun. Zarnak troops rushed in from the far end of the arena. A large battle started, lasers firing, smoke rising, screams echoing. Jack and his group fought hard. Brock took out 5 soldiers on his own. Kiru disabled two mechs, using hacked codes. The beast Jack had freed tore into the guards, roaring with rage. But then an explosion. Part of the arena wall broke open. A new figure entered, tall, armored, cold. Commander Vraz. He was Zarnak elite, bigger than the others, dressed in red-black battle armor. Carrying a heavy energy blade, he walked slowly across the burning arena, ignoring the chaos. His eyes locked on Jack. You speak like a leader, Vraz said, but you are still a weak animal. Jack stepped forward, blood on his face, dust on his armor. Then fight me and find out. Brock tried to step beside him, but Jack raised a hand. No, I need to do this myself. Vaz moved fast, surprisingly fast for his size. He swung the blade, and Jack barely dodged. The heat of the weapon burned his arm. Jack countered with a knife, aiming for the joint in the armor. Missed. Vraz grabbed him and threw him across the floor. Jack crashed into a broken column. Pain shot through his back, but he stood, bleeding, coughing but alive. He remembered his training, his time as a soldier. He remembered Earth home, the blue sky. He rushed forward, dodged the next blade. Swing slid under the alien's legs and stabbed. A grenade under the armor plate at Vraz's spine. Vraz turned. Jack dove back. Boom. The grenade exploded, ripping through the back of the commander's armor. Vraz staggered, fell to one knee. Jack walked up slowly. He raised his rifle. You lost, and he pulled the trigger. Vaz's body fell still. The crowd gasped. Then silence for one long moment. The arena froze. Then the prisoners cheered. All around the ship, word spread. The commander was dead. The human had killed him. Zarnak soldiers panicked. Some tried to flee. Others surrendered. You turned to Jack. They're breaking. Their command is collapsing. Brock raised his axe high. We take the bridge. We take the ship. Jack looked up at the sky dome above the arena, stars shining beyond the glass. Not just this ship, he said. All of them. Let me know when you're ready for part 5. The story will expand to it. The stars outside the bridge were quiet, but tension filled the air. Jack stood over the navigation console. We go after the nearest ship. Hit it fast, before they regroup. Kiru pointed to the star map. This one Zarnak destroyer, close-range vessel. Smaller than Kavros, but heavily armed. Jack nodded. We take it. We send a louder message. Brock cracked his knuckles. When do we leave? Jack looked around the damaged bridge. Fires still smoked in the walls. The IPA crew was tired. Some were injured, but their eyes burned with purpose. We leave now. Kiru activated the engines. The Cavros groaned as it turned in space, thrusters firing. Lights blinked red. The ship wasn't in perfect shape, but it was still deadly as they flew toward. The Krolix. Jack gave orders, get everyone into squads. We'll bore through their hangar deck. I want techs on hacking teams, fighters up front, and medics in between. Brock grinned. Like an army. Jack smiled back. No, like a revolution. They reached the Krolix within an hour. The smaller ship turned its guns toward them but hesitated. Kiru read the scans. They're waiting for orders. They're scared. Jack leaned forward. Open a channel. A Zarnok voice hissed through the speaker. Turn back. You are surrounded. Reinforcements are coming. Jack replied calmly. Then you'd better run before they arrive. Before the enemy could respond, Jack gave the command. Ram the lower hangar. The Cavros surged forward. A blast shook both ships as metal scraped against metal. Fighters from both sides shouted. Explosions rocked the hallway. Jack and his team jumped into action. Boarding pods shot across the gap. Explosive charges blew. Doors open. Smoke poured in as dozens of rebel fighters stormed the Krolix. Blaster fire filled the air. Brock led the charge, swinging a stolen energy blade. Kiru stayed near Jack, hacking door panels and blocking enemy comms. Other species fought beside them. Former prisoners now turned warriors. Jack moved fast, taking cover, firing short bursts, leading the push deeper into the ship. The Zarnok crew was stronger in numbers, but their will was broken. Fear filled their eyes. One soldier dropped his weapon and fled. Another begged for mercy. Jack didn't stop. Secure the bridge. They fought floor by floor, hallway by hallway. Finally, after an hour of brutal combat, they reached the upper command deck. There, they found something strange. No Zarnok officers, just a few scared guards. Kiru frowned. Why is it so empty? Jack stepped into the captain's chamber. It was clean. Too clean. Then he saw it. A strange round device in the center, glowing, humming, alien. Even by Zarnok standards. Kiru's eyes widened. This isn't theirs. Brock tilted his head. What do you mean? Kiru scanned the device. It's older, ancient tech. Built for communication, long distance, possibly interstellar. Jack stared at it. They were talking to someone else. Kiru nodded slowly, or something else. He tapped a button. A hologram flickered to life. Tall, thin figures with glowing eyes. Not Zarnok. They spoke in a strange language. Voices, layered like whispers. Then one word came through, translated by the system. Harvest. The hologram ended. Silence. Jack looked at Kiru. What the hell was that? Kiru answered carefully. I don't think the Zarnok are in full control. They're working for something bigger, Brock growled. They're not the top predators. No, Kiru said. They're middlemen. Jack turned to the ship's crew. Get this device secured. I want every file copied. Every signal traced. He looked back out the window at the rest of the fleet. We're not just fighting a slave empire anymore. We're fighting whoever owns it. Suddenly an alert rang through the ship. Kiru checked the terminal. Enemy reinforcements incoming. 2 more dreadnoughts. They know we took the Krolix. Brock slammed his fist into the wall. Too soon. We're not ready. Jack didn't blink. Then we don't fight them head on. He pointed to the stolen communication device. We use this. Kiru's eyes widened. You want to send a message? Jack nodded. Not to the Zarnok, to whatever's above them. He stepped toward the camera again, bruised, covered in ash, his voice firm. This is Jack Carter to Ren. If you're watching this, you've been using the Zarnok to fight your battles, to harvest life from other worlds, to control through fear. He leaned in. Now you'll learn what fear really is. He tapped the console. The message was sent. To where? No one knew. Jack turned to his crew. Get ready, whatever's coming. It's watching us now. The silence after Jack's message felt heavier than the battle. Everyone on the Krolix watched the stars, waiting, hoping nothing would answer. But something did. An hour later, Kiru's eyes widened as a strange signal hit the ship's sensors. It's not Zarnok code, he said. It's older, deeper. It's coming from inside the fleet. Jack moved to the console. What do you mean? Kiru stared at the data. It's not coming from space. It's buried inside the main Zarnok flagship, the Vorak. Brock growled. So the masters are here. Jack nodded slowly. And they're watching everything. Suddenly the ship shuddered. Alarms blared. Massive energy surge detected. Kiru shouted. A bright light burst from the Vorak. It wasn't a weapon. It was a signal, wide, silent, powerful. It swept across the fleet like a wave. Then something strange happened. Soldiers aboard the other ships began to scream. Everywhere. One by one. They dropped to their knees, clutching their heads. Some collapsed. Some began to speak in broken, twisted words. Kiru's voice shook. They've been activated. Mind control. Maybe worse. Jack watched through the camera feeds. The Zarnok weren't just soldiers. They were tools, puppets. And now something had pulled the strings tight. Brock looked out the window. What now? Jack's voice was hard. Now we find the Vorak. We end this. They gathered every fighter they had. Dozens of former prisoners now loyal, strong, brave, united. Jack stood before them. I don't know what we're up against, but I do know this: if we don't stop whatever's controlling them, no world is safe. Not Earth, not yours, not anyone's. The rebels nodded. They knew this wasn't just a fight for freedom anymore. It was a fight for survival. Kiru activated the ship's jump drives. We go straight to the Vorak. Inside the heart of the enemy. As they approached, the flagship loomed in the dark like a sleeping god. It was massive, 3 times bigger than Kavros, covered in armor and strange antennae. And it wasn't silent. Jack could feel it, a hum in the air, a whisper in the mind. Something ancient. Watching, they flew in through a side hangar, dodging automated turrets. No Zarnok ships blocked their path. The enemy didn't need guards anymore. The ship wanted them to come. Jack led the team through black metal halls. No sound. No alarms. Then they found it a central chamber, circular, wide, and filled with mist. In the center stood a tall black structure pod machine, part alive. It pulsed slowly. Waiting. Kiru scanned it. This is it. The source, the command mind. It's not just Zarnok tech, it's older alien parasite-level intelligence. Brock stepped closer. Can we destroy it? Before anyone could answer, a voice echoed through the room, not through speakers, through their minds. You are bold, human. Jack's eyes narrowed. Show yourself. The voice continued. We have seen your kind, primitive, violent, but useful. The Zarnok served well. You will serve better. Jack stepped forward. I don't serve anyone. The structure lit up. From the mist, a figure emerged, shifting, glowing, almost like smoke given shape. Not flesh, not machine. It had no face, no legs, just eyes. Thousands of eyes, all staring. You fight well, it said. But every war ends the same. You win, and then you become like us. Jack raised his rifle. Maybe, but not today. He fired. The energy bolt slammed into the structure. Sparks flew. The figure screamed loud, sharp, inside everyone's head. The chamber shook. Panels exploded. The ship's AI screamed in warning. You cannot kill the mind. The creature roared. Kiru, yelled Jack. There's a core at the base. If we overload it, we can shut it down. Brock threw a grenade. It bounced, rolled under the black device. Then let's do it the human way, he said. Boom. The explosion tore through the lower structure. Lights flickered. The creature shrieked. Its form twisted, cracked, lost shape. Jack ran forward, jammed a plasma charge into the core. BBB. BBB. He turned and shouted. Everybody out now. They ran. The blast behind them ripped through the chamber. Fire and black mist chased them down the hallway. The ship screamed like it was alive. They reached the hangar, jumped into the ship, and launched away as the Vorak began to break apart. Outside, the fleet watched. And then something strange happened. The other Zarnok ships, once under the same control, suddenly stopped. Their lights dimmed, their weapons powered down. Jack stood on the bridge, staring at the crumbling flagship behind them. Kiru whispered, "It's over." Jack shook his head. No, not yet. That was one piece of the machine. One hive. He looked out at the stars. There's more. Somewhere out there, watching, waiting. Brock walked beside him. What do we do now? Jack clenched his fists. We prepare. We warn Earth. We build something better. He turned to his crew. Because when they come again, he looked straight ahead, eyes cold. We'll be ready. 3 weeks had passed since the destruction of the Vorak. Across the stars, the Zarnok fleet was silent. Their command mind was gone. Their ships, now empty, drifted like abandoned bones. But Jack Carter knew the war wasn't over. Earth had to be warned. The Krolex, now repaired and renamed Unity, jumped through hyperspace, carrying Jack, Brock, Kiru, and dozens of survivors. They weren't just rebels anymore. They were witnesses, leaders. When Earth's defense fleet saw the alien ship approaching, they prepared for war. But Jack sent a simple message. This is Jack Carter. I'm coming home. When the Unity landed outside New Geneva, the world's top leaders were waiting. So were the news cameras. The whole planet watched as Jack stepped down the ramps, cut, tired but alive. He spoke on every screen, his voice steady. There's something bigger than the Zarnok, something ancient. It feeds on control, on fear, on slavery. The Zarnok were just tools. He pointed to the stars. They're still out there, watching, waiting, and they will return. Earth listened, and for the first time it united. The Terran alliance was formed, nations and colonies, joining together. But Earth didn't stand alone. Kiru helped connect humans with other species who had escaped the Zarnok. Survivors, fighters, worlds once scattered. Now rebuilding together, they formed a growing defense force. Ships were upgraded, weapons forged. Training began. Jack stood at the heart of it all. He wasn't a soldier anymore. He was a symbol, a spark. Then, the warning came. A deep space satellite picked up a new signal, different from before, colder, darker, pulsing with power. Kiru decoded. It's not from our galaxy. Jack read the translation. You killed one mind. We are many. A massive wormhole opened near the edge of Terran space. Strange shapes moved in the dark. Ships unlike anything seen before, black, silent, organic. Jack gathered the alliance, hundreds of ships, thousands of fighters. This was not a battle for one planet. This was a war for the future of all life. In the war room, Jack looked around. Humans, aliens, former slaves, now equals. This is our stand, he said. We fight not for revenge but for freedom, Brock grinned. Let's show them what it means to pick the wrong species. The fleets met at the edge of the Sol system. The sky turned red with fire. Jack led the Unity into the heart of the enemy line. Around him, fighters weaved, ships exploded, energy beams cracked, space opened. That the enemy moved like one, cold, precise, endless. But Jack's side fought harder. They weren't tools. They were alive, angry, united. As the battle raged, Kiru found the source of the enemy control, a hidden command vessel, cloaked behind a dark moon. Jack made the call. We end this now. He and a small team boarded the enemy ship. Inside they found another mind, bigger, older, stronger. It spoke without sound. You are dust, chaos, weak. Jack aimed his weapon. Then why are you afraid? He fired. The weapon didn't kill the mind, but it opened the way. Kiru hacked the systems. Brock planted charges. They ran as the ship shook apart. Outside, the enemy ships faltered. One by one, they lost connection. They stopped moving. Jack's fleet roared forward. Victory spread like wildfire. When the battle ended, stars lit up again. Quiet returned, but not the same quiet dot. It was freedom now. Back on Earth, Jack stood before a crowd. Not just humans, but beings from dozens of worlds. He raised a Terran flag, now redesigned with symbols of many species. We were weak alone, he said, but together we are something new. He looked up at the stars. They picked the wrong human. Then he smiled. They picked the wrong galaxy.